All right, so now we can see the screen for Forex Factory for this week, 18th, which runs through from 18th to 24th May. All right, so all day today, Monday, we have a bank holiday from Canada, and later today by 5:30 p.m., SNB Chairman Sledger will give a speech from Switzerland. So we really don't have a tradable event in the majority part of the day. Even the speech in the evening from Switzerland may not really be a tradable one. So we don't really have a tradable fundamental event today. Tomorrow, Tuesday, there's going to be cash rate, RBA monetary policy statement, and RBA rate statement from Australia, and that will take place by 5:30 a.m. This is Australia's version of interest rate, and volatility is expected. So three events will run simultaneously by 5:30 a.m. If you wake up early, if you're an early riser, you can actually target to trade this news event. I'll show you my outlook for the AUD across different pairs, to prepare you ahead of this news event. And the event still continues till 6:30 a.m. tomorrow morning with the RBA press conference. So let's just watch out for that. It's good. There's going to be a lot of move in the market, for this particular news event. So you can plan ahead to trade it. And tomorrow Tuesday also there'll be CPI from Canada by 1:30 p.m. So there'll be CPI monthly, median CPI yearly, trim CPI yearly, common CPI yearly. All of them, all four events will run simultaneously by 1:30 p.m. tomorrow. So let's watch out for the Canadian dollar. I will also show you what I'm looking at, for the Canadian dollar with respect to this news. Likewise. Now, by on Wednesday, there are two events, but the key one is the CPI from United Kingdom by 7 a.m. on Wednesday. I mean, it's early in the morning, just around the time we start this analysis. I would like to show you my outlook for the British pound ahead of this particular news event and any other pound event for the week. And Thursday is a day loaded with many PMI, manufacturing, flash, PMI, a lot of activities on Thursday. In fact, Thursday, if you must stay out of the market technically, you might have to, because it's just filled with all types of fundamental activities right from 3 a.m. with the annual budget release from New Zealand. 8:15 we have two events, French flash manufacturing PMI and French flash services PMI from the Eurozone. By 8:30 a.m. German flash manufacturing PMI, German flash services PMI again from the Eurozone, and 9 a.m. flash manufacturing PMI, flash services PMI, German IFO business climate, all from the Eurozone from 8:15 to 9 a.m. By 9:30 a.m. on Thursday, there'll be flash manufacturing PMI. By 9:30 a.m. on Thursday, there'll be flash manufacturing PMI, flash services PMI from the United Kingdom. And 1:30 p.m. on Thursday, there'll be unemployment claims from the United States. 2:45, there'll be flash manufacturing PMI, flash services PMI from the United States. And by 3 p.m. on Thursday, there'll be existing home sales. And later in the night by 11:45 on Thursday, there'll be retail sales. Now, retail sales, we can keep that out, but obviously, Thursday is filled with a lot, and all of them they are likely to move the market. So we should expect a lot of fundamental activity on Thursday, which could lead to volatility. So we can take note of that and plan ahead. And on Friday, May 23rd, 7 a.m. in the morning again, there will be retail sales from the United Kingdom, and by 1:30 p.m. there'll be core retail sales and retail sales from Canada. These are the key events on Friday. 3 p.m. there'll be new home sales from United States. It's a medium impact event, but the key event on Friday will be the retail sales from the United Kingdom and the core retail sales and retail sales from Canada. All right, so let's take note of all these events and mark them. The ones I mentioned will move the market. There's a high probability that they will really move the market. And I'll switch over now to the technical so that we check the technical setup and also how we can prepare technically for some of these events, and even the ones that there are technical setup that there is no serious fundamentals that could affect it, how we can plan ahead generally, to trade in the course of this week. So usually I start with the dollar index. That gives us an insight into what to expect for the dollar, because the US DX, that's the dollar index, gives us a general overview of the market, especially for the major currency pairs. Now, the dollar index, as you can see on the screen at the moment, we've seen some very big, massive bearish movements in the last couple of, not even a couple of weeks, in the last couple of months, right from the beginning of the year. This instrument has been trending downwards. You can see a massive bearish movement, after the formation of a head and shoulder pattern here that led to a massive bearish movement right from 2024. This bearish movement started in 2024. Okay, that's from January this year, or let's say right from here when the breakout happened. That was since earlier February thereabout, and we've seen a massive bearish movement. And recently, price broke this support level, retested it with a rejection candle. So last week closed as a rejection candle. We should see a further bearish movement on the US dollar this week. Now, the key instruments I want to look at for the dollar, I'll actually look at two, but the major one I will put more of my attention on this week is going to be the USD JPY. And why am I looking at the USD JPY? If we go to the weekly time frame, we will see that price is having exactly the same structure as what we saw on the dollar index. We have a previous support turned resistance. This is a support zone. Price broke the support, retested it as a resistance, and the candle that closed last week closed as a rejection candle. So technically, we're looking for an opportunity to sell the dollar this week. So this is just a confirmation, a direct confirmation of what we saw on the dollar index. That is what is being repeated on the USD JPY. Now, that's on the weekly time frame. That's on the big picture. That's the general overview we have of this instrument. But then on the 4-hour time frame, where we will likely take our entry, this is my outlook. I can see the formation of a shoulder, a head, a second shoulder, and this is expected to drive price at least down to this trend line. Now, when price gets to this trend line, two things will happen. We might see a retracement and a further drop, or we may see possibly a reversal if fundamentals change. But generally, I hold a bearish outlook. The longer term movement is still the bearish. If price is able to break this trend line, yes, we'll have a free flow of price downwards, massively downwards. Otherwise, price may just test this trend line, and we see some retracement and a continuation, or we may see a reversal on the short term. These are the possibilities. But on the general outlook, I hold a bearish view on the USD JPY. Now, the other dollar pair I'm looking at this week is the USD CHF. Now, this one, I've said this multiple times in the course right from the beginning of the year, that if price ever broke the support, you can see on the weekly time frame, we have a valid support zone here, and price broke this support zone. I've said it multiple times that price will go and retest the support as resistance, and then we'll look for a bearish movement. And this is already in progress, because last week the candle that closed as a rejection candle on that resistance zone. So technically, we're looking also for an opportunity to sell the USD CHF, just like the USD JPY. So we can flip over to the 4-hour time frame and draw our trend line, and possibly a second one to give us a rising wedge pattern. So I'll be looking for price to break out below this lower trend line for us to trigger a sell. You can see that price is not yet around that trend line zone, so we need to exercise patience and see a clear breakout. And you know the rule: let me say the confirmation is that your RSI should be clearly below 50 at the point of entry. Currently, RSI is actually below 50, but we need to wait for price to break out below the lower trend line. So we're bearish on both the USD JPY and the USD CHF. Now, for those who are gold lovers, gold has been doing some massive movement last week. I remember an analysis I dropped on gold last week, I think Wednesday or Thursday thereabouts, where I said, I held a bullish outlook on gold after price hits is coming from, was moving down from this bullish movement that was on, and I said I anticipated a further bullish movement, at least firstly to this support turn resistance level, and if price breaks above that level, we will see a bigger move upward. Yeah, price already hit the level I said it's going to hit. That's already, has been achieved. Now, this is the view this week. At that same spot where we have this confluence zone, as resistance turn support and an uptrend, we still expect that bullish movement. And what would trigger that bullish movement this week is on the 4 hour, because on the 4 hour we can see the clear formation of an inverse head and shoulder pattern. Now, a word of caution, this is gold, and it's the setup I'm seeing at the moment is 4 hour. It is swing. So if you are to trade this, trade with extreme caution. Extreme caution. If you have a small account, I would suggest you don't bother. But if your account is reasonable enough and you feel you want to trade this, you can go ahead, but make sure you use very minimal lot size, precisely maybe a 0.01, even on like a $500 account. The reason is because gold can be extremely volatile. So I'm seeing the formation of an inverse head and shoulder, and this is the neckline region. So if a new candle opens above this level, with RSI again clearly above 50, currently RSI is at 51, but we need it to be way above that level. So if that happens, we can safely trigger a buy on gold, and it's going to be a swing trade, and that's the reason why I said we should trade with extreme caution. Now, if we are taking a buy on gold, we shouldn't forget there is a resistance level or a resistance zone up here. So we can use our Fibonacci tool. So the expected profit taking levels, normal standard, we have Fibonacci 50 and possibly Fibonacci 61.8, depending on your trading style. And from around the area where we anticipate breakout, we could be expecting something close to it is close to some 600 pips from looking at what I'm seeing, you know. But again, trade with caution. But then we're expecting a massive move on gold in the course of this week, and it's swing. So trade with extreme caution. Except you have a personal strategy on that can trigger you in, like on 15 minutes time frame, and you want to just take a few pips and you're out. And you can do that repeatedly. If that is your trading style, you can likewise do that. But from what I'm seeing, this works better on a swing. All right, so we're bullish on gold, we're bearish on the United States dollar. Now, the AUDPS are going to be moving this week. Don't forget, tomorrow there'll be, I think, a cash rate also from Australia. Yes. So the AUDPS also, they are of serious importance this week because technically we have some very good setup on them, and fundamentally because there's going to be some news from Australia. Well, if the technical matches the fundamental, definitely we'll see a massive reaction. But then this is my view on the AUD pairs. I'll start with the AUD, the AUD CHF. I'll check the AUD JPY likewise. All right, so this is the AUD CHF on the weekly time frame. Now we can clearly see that the candle that closed last week closed as not just a rejection candle, this is a perfect doji. Now, with this doji on the weekly time frame, we can also discover that there is, or we can not just discover, we can see that there is actually a previous support turned resistance. We can take it down to the monthly time frame. That can give us a clearer picture. You can see that this support zone extends to all this region. Even there's a third one way behind, but let's just leave that out of it. So we have a previous support turned resistance, and the candle that closed last week closed as a rejection candle. So technically, not just a rejection candle, like I said, it's a doji. So technically, we're looking for a reversal on the AUDCHF. So we flip down to 4 hour time frame, and this is what we have. We have a rising wedge pattern. Now, this area here, we can as well take it as a shoulder, a head, and second shoulder, and we anticipate a bearish movement. Now, two ways to trade this. If this technical setup triggers before the news, to trigger for the benefit of those who might be new means that we have price breakout below the trend line, and not just below the trend line alone, also possibly below this region here, because this is equally cannot equally become a support level. So when a new candle opens below the trend line and below that support level, we can safely trigger a sell, even if it happens before the news, before the cash rate event later tonight by okay, tomorrow morning rather, by 5:30 a.m. we can trigger a sell. Now, if however that doesn't happen, even if by tomorrow morning, if you wake up early to trade and the data from the news comes out bad for the Australian dollar, you can safely also trigger a sell. So 5:30 a.m. tomorrow, you wait, you wake up early, you check your forex factory, the data came out bad for the Australian dollar, you can safely trigger a sell. Also, you didn't wake up early, you missed the news. Around 6 a.m., you checked your chart, a new candle has opened below the support zone. You are still safe to enter a sell. It's a swing setup. The only thing we need is let the technical rhymes with the fundamental. And like I said, even if the thing triggers before the news, you are still very safe to trigger a sell. Either way, it goes. So we're bearish on the AUD CHF. And in the same vein, also, we are bearish on the AUD JPY. They have similar setup. So that tells you that a general weakness is actually expected, across board for the Australian dollar. So for the AUD JPY version, this is it. It's still a similar type of setup. We have a support. We have a support zone turned resistance, with a rejection candle that closed last week. And we also have a trend line touching here. That's a further confirmation of a bearish movement. So we flip down to 4 hour, just like we did for the AUDCHF. Um, so we anticipate the breakout. Again, just like the AUDCHF, I'll also want to take this as a minor support zone. So I want to see a new candle break out below that zone before we trigger a sell. All right, so we're bearish on both the AUD CHF and the AUD JPY. Okay, I think I have just about a couple of other instruments to show us, and then we'll be done. I'll show us GBP, JPY, and CAD CHF. I'll be done. Now we're also expecting some news from the United Kingdom, and that will impact upon the GBP, JPY, and the GBP CHF, where both of them are also bearish. So this is the GBP, JPY. Now for this particular instrument, we can clearly see that the candle that closed last week closed as a rejection candle at a resistance level, and a closer look also shows us that we have a descending trend line right here. All points to the possibility of a bearish movement. Yeah, I know what you're seeing as a green candle. There could be a retracement or a retest, but ultimately, I still expect a reversal on this instrument in the bearish direction. So we can go down to 4 hour time frame, and on 4 hour, this is what I'm seeing at the moment. We have a trend line right here, and we can have another one at the back to form a rising wedge pattern. So it's possible you can see price is testing the trend line with this higher low. It's possible price may go up. That's a green candle you are seeing. Then later on, crash downwards. And it's also possible this is giving us an outlook of a shoulder ahead. Then the upward movement could form the second shoulder. Then we'll have the bearish outlook. Now you can see that virtually all the setup I've been giving today, they are all swing. And that tells you the market is actually getting ready for some major move this week. So we have the neckline region uh, set up here. So either way the market goes, anytime price breaks out below this neckline, then that'll be the time to trigger a sell on the GBP JPY. So we're bearish on the GBP JPY. Again, later in the week, if the news comes out bad for the pound, that will support a further breakout in the bearish direction on the GBP JPY. And similar outlook in the bearish direction is also seen on the GBP but then I wouldn't go into that because of time. I'll look finally now at CAD CHF. Now, whatever I'm showing on CAD CHF is also applicable to CAD JPY. So I'll just show CAD CHF. You can check out CAD JPY independently. Now, for CAD CHF, on the weekly time frame again, we can see that the candle that closed last week closed as a rejection candle. That's an indication of a bearish sentiment. And then we equally have a support turned resistance zone somewhere around here. The tip of that candle and this one is still kind of touching. That's still in the same zone. You can see they are in the same zone. They're still touching. So we have a support turned resistance with a rejection candle. Then we anticipate a further bearish movement. And not only that, we equally have a descending trend line touching the shadows at 3 specific points here. We have a 1, a 2, a 3, making this zone a confluence where we anticipate a bearish breakout. So if you flip down to the 4 hour time frame, you can draw a trend line right here and a second one again at the back to give us a rising wedge. So anytime price breaks out, we are anticipating a massive bearish movement on the CAD CHF. Like I said, the same is applicable to the CAD JPY. So this week we have a bearish outlook on both the CAD CHF and the CAD JPY. So if any CAD news comes out bad for the CAD, we may look at selling these two specific instruments. All right, so that's going to be all from my end this morning. I can see a couple of requests here. Gold, Ogushola Clement, we are bullish on gold. However, it's a swing setup, so trade with a lot of caution. So I'm to check DJ30, AUDJPY. I already analyzed that, so I'll check DJ30 for Benedicta. All right, so this is DJ30. So this is DJ30 on the daily time frame. Now, last week candle closed as a small kind of rejection candle. At least we have a long shadow and a small body, even though the shadow, the size is not too bigger than the body, but it's still the shadow. And we have we have a resistance zone up there. So technically we have a rejection candle touching a resistance level, and we can flip to the 1 hour time frame. And on the 1 hour, what clearly is forming here is a shoulder, a head, a second shoulder, and we anticipate a bearish breakout afterwards. All right, so further bearish movement is expected on this instrument in the course of today. But I will give a signal on this, but I'll advise you trade with caution with a minimal lot size because this instrument can be a bit volatile. So I'll give a sell stop order on this particular one. So we have DJ30 sell stop at 42266.29. Take profit is at 42124.15, and stop loss will be at 42361.75. All right, so that's a signal for DJ30, a sell stop order. Sell stop order 42266.29. That's the entry price. Take profit is 42124.15, and stop loss is 42361.7 size. Again, trade with caution. Trade with caution means you use a stop loss and also, most importantly, a very, very minimal lot size. All right, that's going to be all for this morning. Do we have any other question as we begin to round up? Euro GBP. Okay. Don't forget we have physical training session twice in a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at both our Abuja and Lagos office. So you can avail yourself this opportunity to actually have hands-on practical experience on how to trade. The day again is Tuesday and Thursday. So tomorrow Tuesday and Thursday is another one. The time for the Abuja office training is 10:30 a.m. Lagos is 11 a.m. The venue for the Abuja office is Work and Connect Building, 50 Ebitu Ukiwe Street, Jabi, Abuja. And the Lagos office address is 54B Adeni Jones Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos. So you can avail yourself of this opportunity to have practical training of how to trade. Now, we do not charge for this training. However, you are expected to have a live trading account with us and possibly fund it with your trading, with your trading. The money in the account is for you to trade. You're not paying us. So you can avail yourself of this opportunity to learn how to trade forex. This is a life skill, and you need to upskill in the year 2025. You can see we're already in the month of May, and May is running out. You need to get a skill that prints money for you, and that's what forex trading can do for you. All right, so I'm checking the Euro GBP. We actually have a trend line here, price bouncing off, and this is the third time price is touching the trend line. So we can look at the 4 hour, but most importantly, check the 1 hour. Now, the 1 hour time frame, the closest setup I'm seeing here is this. We have a trend line right here. So if price breaks out above this trend line, well, we can look at taking a bullish trade on the Euro GBP. All right, so this actually gives us a falling wedge pattern. So you can look at a breakout above that trend line to trigger a buy on Euro GBP, and this upper part here can be your take profit level. So wait for a clear breakout on the minimum. That can give you some, well, it says cap anyway, just some 10 to 13 pips that you can catch on this one. BTC USD, all right. All right, so this is BTC USD on the daily time frame. The candle that closed last Friday closed as a rejection candle on a resistance level, and this week started with another rejection candle that is approaching the trend line. Okay, that's the daily time frame. You can see we have a rising wedge pattern there also. Let's check the 4 hour. Let's check the 1 hour. Okay, two things could happen here depending on the level of the volatility. Either it could be 4 hour, 1 hour. If price breaks out below this lower trend line, then we are going to see a massive bearish breakout on BTC USD. But on the other hand, there is equally a kind of a support zone here. So price is actually between buying and selling. If price is unable to break that support zone, then we will see price. In fact, this is actually a confluence zone. It's a confluence zone. We have a support and a trend line. So price on the short term might return back to this resistance zone. That's except if price breaks out below the support zone. Yes, we have a massive breakout. But on the short term, price, will likely go in the bullish direction. So let's flip down to 1 hour. So from the 1 hour time frame, we might be looking at price entering this zone and going back up, or otherwise on the long term, if it breaks out below it, then we can look at the sell. So short term buy, long term sell. That's my view on BTC USD. So, all right, with that, we've come to the end of today's morning analysis. Don't forget to join us by 12:30 p.m. for the afternoon analysis. And I said, just keep watching out. We have a 5x, signal program coming up. It's a new one, completely different from our regular signal group. You're required to join it with a funded, a fresh funded account. Let me put it that way. And we're looking at you going 5x within the space of a month thereabout. Meaning, if you fund like 1,000, you should grow from 1,000 to like 5,000. It's massive. So just watch out to be intimated more about it. Very soon you'll see flyers in your WhatsApp group. And once you see them, you can just reach out to your account manager and join this particular program. Like I said, it's separate from a normal signal group. A new group will be created for it. It's all for you to extract more value from PU Prime. All right, we'll see again some other time later. Take care. Have a great week ahead. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Have a great week, sir.
You too, man.